million things. Okay. And if you could just let me know if you can hear this.
Thank you for attending this ConnecTogether event.
Yep.
Great.
During this event, we have automatic closed captioning available. Please go to the bottom of the Zoom meeting, click Live Transcript, and then Show Subtitles to turn them on. Before we begin, we'd like to take a quick moment to let you know how you can join an opinion research panel made specifically for British Columbians living with disabilities.
For 25 years, the Disability Foundation has been fostering meaningful experiences for Canadians with disabilities through outdoor recreation, social connectedness, innovative adaptive devices, and more. Today we are asking, how has the pandemic affected you? Help strengthen decision makers' understanding of your needs and experiences by joining an online opinion research panel consisting solely of people with disabilities and their caregivers. Make a difference in your community today. The Disability Foundation. Reimagine what is possible.
Did you know? Young adults with disabilities have a harder time getting hired. Break down barriers by sharing your story. Take our survey.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to our continuing of the conversation of the Pespectives series, Navigating Care Aids. Sorry. I'm Emily. I'm going to be somewhat facilitating the conversation. I do want this to be a participatory thing. So if you have a question or a comment, you can unmute yourself and be a part of the conversation. People will be coming in while we're going, I'm sure. And this is also being live streamed to our Facebook and YouTube channels. So I'll be looking out for any questions or comments that sort of pop up there as well. And you can share this with a friend afterwards on Facebook and YouTube as well. I'll put the links at the end of the chat. So yeah, I'd love to have our guests introduce themselves. Pooja, do you want to go first?
Sure. Hi, my name is Pooja, and I have been a caregiver for 6 years. I started my journey back in Ontario, and I have been working as a registered care aide in BC for 5 years. I've worked for the community. I have worked in facilities. I've done a little bit of a lot. And right now I work for a company called Nurse Next Door. And I still work as a caregiver, and then I also do train caregivers and, help work with clients and their issues and things like that. So again, I do a little bit of everything.
I like that, a little bit of a lot. Thank you so much for being here again. And Art?
Well, I'll just say that I was going to be representing GNP, Global Network Personnel Home Care Solutions today, but they are reviewing their marketing at the moment. So we'll just, in the interest of not making promises that we won't fulfill tomorrow, we'll just pretend I'm here by myself, as I am actually. And I can speak on hiring, as I have done, care aides for the last 10 plus years. I won't be exact about that, but many years. I've enjoyed all kinds of good and learning experiences, and all kinds of moments in between. So it's interesting, the journey I've had, but largely really great experiences. But lots of things I could share if anything comes up on the topics for other people that are hiring and plan to hire, etc. So yeah, go
absolutely. Ahead. Awesome. Yeah, we will probably touch on some of the things that we touched on last time as well. as I think we were really getting into talking about the process and the steps that we need to take in order to get care aid. And I think that was really beneficial. The feedback that we got was really good from that. So again, I really want participants to be a part of the conversation. So if you have any questions or comments or topics you'd like covered, you can put them in the chat, or you can simply unmute yourself. Let's just all be respectful of each other talking and each other's viewpoints and whatnot. But I'd love to start with just a little bit of a general overview. Pooja, can you talk a bit about the difference between private and public care?
Sure. So it is a big difference for sure. Because with private care, I mean, with Nurse Next Door, our policy is going above and beyond. So we do everything from, driving our clients to appointments, to buying their groceries, to gardening with them. And like lately, we've been working a little bit on like happier aging stories. So like there's this one client who had a stroke 30 years ago and has been on a wheelchair ever since. And like she just recently got cancer and she's palliative. So she has all these things on her bucket list that she always wanted to do, but never got a chance to do. But finally, like some of our caregivers and myself are organizing it for her. So she loves the water. So we organized like a pool outing with her and her physiotherapist and her caregiver. She loved it, and we're like trying to do it like an ongoing weekly thing. She loves to play hockey, like watch hockey, not play. So she's honestly been to like one of the Canucks game in December, and we're working on planning one on March. So it's just things like that unfortunately with the community, they don't have the budget to do. So a lot of people who are not fully able-bodied and are not able to go out of their way to do those things that they enjoy, we can help them like privately. But with community, it's limited. There's like all these lists of tasks, and they'll only take the garbage out and only give you a shower on Wednesdays. And, like there's just like so many limitations. And I totally understand like the budget and the funding, but it's just nice to provide that care that, as a caregiver, I personally love to, do something for my clients that not everybody can do. Like sometimes we'll just go buy groceries, and if a client likes shepherd's pie, or, like they've not eaten something in a long time, so cooking that for them or taking them somewhere that they've not been in a long time, it just gives you that joy and that satisfaction in the job that just, just doing tasks on the list and, just giving a shower on Wednesday and, preparing breakfast every morning just doesn't do it. So yeah, I think that's the huge difference between private and community right now.
Does private have sort of tiered pricing depending on the things that you want covered, or is it sort of an hourly rate?
It's sort of an hourly rate, and most of the times with privates, you just have like a minimum. So like with us, we have a 3-hour minimum, just because we don't believe that 1 hour is like enough time to do all the things that we would like to do. And then also with our caregivers, we try to like spend some time with the clients, have a chat, maybe, have some tea, go out for a walk. So with community, you can never do that with your caregivers. Like you can't develop that relationship. And considering they are like so intimate with you, because I mean, they are like doing everything for you. Like I feel like developing that relationship is very important.
Developing that relationship, I like that.
Yeah.
One more question on private, sort of how you approach a public or community care program where you have a care plan and you stay within those things. Do you need to be presented with a list of things in private that they would like taken care of? And then can that grow and change?
Yes. So it's very similar to community. The only difference is the extra things that we do. And then we make the care plan just like a community social worker would. But then, we would add things like taking the groceries out, taking client out on appointments and things like that. And our caregivers do stick to that. But when a client will ask them to do something out of the scope, they don't say no. They just say, we're just going to call our supervisor and confirm with them. And then they call me or one of my colleagues. And then, if it's something simple, they'll say yes. But if it's like something complicated, like, please move that 50-pound box from then only we would say no. So yeah.
Right. Okay. Art, do you have experience with both private and public?
Yes.
And Art, do you?
Well, I don't know what I would really say to that, other than I'm on the Cecil program, right? So I hire my own workers, and that's provided by public funding, right? But the Cecil program is an independent model, so we create our own plans, and we basically hire our workers to do everything we need. So there isn't really anything that they won't do, though. Let's face it. I mean, there are times when you're not going to get your worker to do the job that an electrician or a plumber will do, right? Yeah. So there are boundaries, but generally, if I can assist my worker to help me to do it by telling them what to do, I have to deal with whatever comes up, right? The computer breaks down, right? So I gotta see if there's wires, that are not connected properly or whatever. So I say, well, can you look in the back of the computer and make sure everything's plugged in, and those kind of little things, and then that kind of makes it interesting too, because the actual care work is pretty routine and boring. Really, there's got to be more to life than that stuff, right? So you got to have a good, fun kind of working relationship, laugh and talk and joke, and find other things to do too.
Yeah. So for those who aren't familiar, the Cecil program is Choice and Supports for Independent Living. Can you talk a little bit about what the difference is between Cecil and between just going through a community program, or are they the same?
I can't really say that, because basically, if you are newly injured, for example, as I was with a spinal cord injury, basically if you have lots of money, you're expected to pay for things. However, the public funding that is the source of the Cecil funds is through the health department. So if your needs are medical, then basically, they fund it. But if you're a high income earner or something, I shouldn't even say that. They do want to know what income bracket you fall into. And if you're making any particular amount, then you might be asked to make a client contribution as well, which let's say is a controversial subject that there's a whole network of people under an organization called ACE, which is the Association of Cecil Employers, that is fighting things like that. Because, if you have a heart attack and you go to the hospital and you have an operation, they don't expect you to contribute toward the doctor's bill, right? So there's all kinds of funny little things, though there's a lot of differentiation based on what kind of condition you have. If you have a spinal cord injury, that is a fairly cut and clear thing that's recognized by the medical establishment. However, if you have something like autism, you can be in a completely different boat, and you may not, or your family or whatever it happens to be, may not receive any substantial funding. So it's unfortunately still kind of murky water. So let's suppose that if I had something like I don't even want to say what, but if I just needed help, okay.
Yeah.
And I didn't fall into one of those categories that was supported, I would have to pay for my care workers through my own funding, my own finances, which may or may not be very difficult. So if you fall into that category, you probably fall under what Pooja's just mentioning, where you get your basic things covered, and that's it. You might get showered once a week or whatever it is.
Mhm.
And that's a pretty tough deal. So the Cecil program does require either the individual themselves to manage the program, or a body of kind of like a board to manage the program for somebody if they're not capable of managing it themselves. But at least it gives you the chance to get the money to cover your care program and then manage it according to your needs, which includes needs and some normal functioning as a person would do in life, rather than being cornered into this minimal amount of basic survival kind of tasks.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm just posting a guide through the Cecil program too, that SCIBC has written about, because it can be a confusing thing to navigate, apparently. Pooja, did you have something to add? Yeah.
Yes. I actually took care of an individual who was on the Cecil program for a year. So first of all, the paperwork is ridiculous. Like, I mean, the amount of stuff that you have to submit and the scrutiny that they put you through. Like, I know so many people who want to go on it, but it's just that because it's so complicated, people are scared to even touch it. So, I mean, I personally feel like that is a great program, because the fact that you can lead your own care and someone's not telling your caregivers what to do, but you're telling your caregivers what to do, because it's you who is receiving that care, is very important. But unfortunately, because of the paperwork and all the drama that people have to go through to get on it, they hesitate to go through that program. But I know so many people in the community who can definitely benefit from the Cecil program.
From the Cecil. So just to clarify, does the Cecil program essentially cut out your case manager?
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. No, there's a case manager. There's a case manager still.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't want to like be let's say argumentative, but basically you do have to do, if you're not the manager type of person, then yes, I guess it could be fairly let's say demanding. But basically what I submit every month is I submit this to my bookkeeper, is the number of hours that people worked. Okay. And there's a few receipts I might buy for like pens or pencils or paper or whatever in the month to the basic office supplies for the program. But I might have one or two receipts a month, maybe on average, and then the hours. But you have to be prepared to talk to your bookkeeper. You're allowed to hire a bookkeeper, and you got to talk to them about basic hours and overtime and whatever, those kind of things. But those are pretty minimal. But you have to be ready to, the real challenge is finding and managing care workers on a budget that is not really generous. It could seem like a fair amount of money, but when you realize you got to pay vacation pay, or overtime if it applies, EI, CPP, all the regular things, just like any other employer has to do. And you don't get any special treatment as a person with a disability. So it's a little bit of, it's a managing challenge, but with some practice, you get used to hiring people and being a good manager. It's like creating your own little family. You hire people that you like and you can get along with and that you believe are good people. And generally, there's some very good people out there that like doing things like this. So I would say, I've hired and kept people for decades. They're here and they it's their job, it's their career, whatever you want to call it. They're proud of what they do, and I've also got people that are here just temporarily, and they're on their way in a career path toward something bigger and better. They might be a nursing or a medical or whatever student, and they have their place in my little structure, and they do a great job, and I totally appreciate their assistance. They're my arms and legs. So
Yeah, I'm sure there is a bit of a learning curve as comes with managing anything. I do just want to ask, so what does the case manager's role play in Cecil? My understanding is when you go through a non-Cecil program, like a community funded program, you're assigned a case manager, and then you discuss with them the care plan, and they decide and appoint your own workers, right? So
that would be in the very beginning. You have a case manager, and that pretty much kind of covers the process of getting on the Cecil program.
Okay.
Once you're on it and operating, they pretty much disappear from your life except for an annual review, and they just want to make sure you're okay and you're not struggling in some terrible position, or you don't have the resources you need or something. But they're kind of there only as like a background consultant, and they don't really do anything other than help connect you to somebody if you really need this or that. Or basically the issue is always money. So if you have any special additional needs or something, call the case manager. If you're really sick and you need to go to the hospital, but you need to bring your workers, or something that's not within the regular boundaries of the contract, the Cecil contract, that is, that you agree to in order to receive the funding, then you talk to your case manager. But on a regular average day-to-day basis, month to month, etc., they're not really in the scene.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if you needed to change your amount of care, you would have to contact your case manager.
Call them right away. Yes.
Okay.
I'm just going to take a couple minutes and do a wait shift. So I'm going to turn off the screen. I'll listen. I'll listen, but you won't hear me.
Sounds good.
And you won't see me.
So Pooja, did you work? You said you had experience in both the public and the private.
Yes.
Okay. And what were you doing in the public?
So same thing. I used to work for Vancouver Coastal Health as a community health worker. So just going into people's homes and doing the tasks from the list. And I liked it. I mean, it's nothing that I didn't enjoy it, but there weren't issues like this. One time I did a client's laundry because he couldn't reach the top, like the dryers.
Right.
And then I got into trouble for doing it because it was not on the care plan. And then the client actually had some issues with the people in the office. So they were very strict about what tasks were to be completed. And then at the end of the day, I was the one who got into trouble for putting clothes in the laundry of a person who is not able to do it himself, but has a family member come in once every 2 weeks maybe, and is incontinent, and he has laundry in his house. So my question was, why couldn't I just help them? But the response was that it's not on the care plan, so you're not supposed to do it, because then if you do it, then they expect the other caregivers to do it. And not everybody has the time. So, which is fair enough also. But I just felt restricted with what I could and couldn't do. Mm-hmm. And there's also situations like, someone who's on a wheelchair ran out of milk. Now they are sitting, their last caregiver has transferred them onto the bed. They don't have milk for breakfast tomorrow. What are you supposed to do? We're not allowed to buy anything for clients. But then, it's just unfair that you see these people every day. They're like family, basically. Mm-hmm. And you are to just put your head down and say, well, you're just going to not have to have breakfast this morning because you don't have milk, because I'm not allowed to buy anything for you. So it's just those restrictions that put caregivers also in the spot where we want to help, but then we just can't. And then when we do, then we get into trouble. So, yeah.
Yeah, that would be frustrating. Danielle?
Yes, I've also had experience in public and private. I have used Nurse Next Door. I found them very expensive, and so I've considered the program that Art is on. By the way, hi Art, and
hi Danielle, good to see you.
But I hate paperwork.
Yeah.
So I'm with Vancouver Coastal Health. And now Vancouver Coastal Health is, I mean, I have a care aide in the morning and then another care aide in the evening. And I've gotten to
Every day?
every day. Yes.
Okay.
I have found that that around holiday time, Christmas and Easter, more care aides tend to call in sick. Whether they're sick or not is questionable,
Mhm.
and so they have to scramble, and so they send in newbies, and so I've got to train them, all over again. But but I have a pretty good relationship with pretty much all of the care aides that are sent to my place,
That's
and
fantastic.
especially the morning crew. However, Vancouver Coastal Health, I think, is a little disorganized. Maybe that's putting it mildly. So they're and they are increasing their fees to I think to make up for COVID, but and basically the rise in cost of living. So since I did not want to, I could not afford the increase, I have received a temporary stay on, so it's on the old rate. And I do have a case manager, so
Yeah.
I go over with her exactly what I need, and that changes, of course, according to my progress or whatever. So I'll call in, I'll say, well, now I need such and such added to the morning program. The morning program is different than the evening program.
Yeah.
And so it's, and if there is a care aide who I clash with,
Yeah.
reason or other, and because maybe she is lazy or she's too much in a hurry, then I question it and I report it. And I find that Vancouver Coastal Health, unfortunately, does not allow travel time for the care aides to get from A to B.
Yes.
Or they send them from one side of town to the other side of town and expect them to find a parking spot in the middle of winter or whatever it is,
Mhm.
when the snow is up to here. And
Yeah.
so they are turn up late and frustrated in a hurry, and then that transfers to the client. So we all get frustrated and start complaining, and I have been told
Everybody's happy.
yes, yeah, everybody's happy, yeah. And the people who call in sick apparently are the same people all the time.
Right.
And it's always around a holiday or a long weekend. There's sort of a pattern that has developed.
Yeah. I can see there being some sort of some things that you deal with when you're covered as opposed to private care. I can see there being a couple.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, I'll comment when you're ready.
Yeah, go for it, Art.
Well, Danielle, the thing about being a recipient of the care that you are right now, and when I first was injured, I know that experience very well.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you will never be able to have the great relationship you do with your care aides on the public system that you will hiring your own people. And unfortunately, the difference between what I deal with on a daily basis and what Pooja can provide is that the agencies all have to charge a fairly high rate because they need to pay for their organization to function, as well as pay the care aides to do their job. So no matter how extremely well managed and budget conscious an agency is, they can never provide the care for the rate that a CISO client can, because they're doing a bunch of work that they never get paid for, and that's the kind of the downside of being a CISO client. You do the work of managing your care aides, and for that you get care aides, but you get no payment. So you're taking a big chunk of the cost out of the program, which is why the government and the health whatever department loves to put you on the CISO program, because it saves them lots of money. Okay. And as long as it works and you got the time, or I would get your family involved, Danielle, because really you should benefit a lot from it, because the difference between getting workers that are just sent to you and workers that you hire and work with, like, as a family, is such a huge difference. I've got workers that maybe get sick one day a year, and they've worked for me for years in a row without even calling sick once. They're just good people, and they do the job, and they feel like it's their duty, and they're committed, and they're proud to be able to provide the service. That's the difference, between having somebody that's like your best friend working for you and somebody that's just there to earn $1 and then be off to the next person. So it can make a huge difference.
Well, I do have a very good relationship with my care aides, and I call them my girls.
Aw.
That's great. If you can, that's great.
And we share a lot together. So in that point, I would disagree with you.
Well, that's good.
Well,
That's
no.
good.
I mean, if you've got that, that's great. But if you got people calling in sick on a regular basis or every holiday or whatever,
Well, they call in sick to Vancouver Coastal Health, and so
right? But
what
still,
happens is Vancouver Coastal Health gets a new person, a new care aide.
Right.
This is somebody who just graduated from the care aide school, whatever that is,
right? Yeah.
to come to fill in.
Right.
And I resent having to retrain somebody. And I've discussed this at great length with my regular care aides. And they say, why doesn't Vancouver Coastal Health send the newbie, the new care aides to the new patients?
Right.
Well, maybe yes, but they're probably struggling to find people just like everyone else is, and
Yeah.
they got to send whoever they can send.
Yeah, I'm sure it's whoever's on shift that day. Yeah.
Yeah, we're really experiencing a shortage of care aides at this point in time. So everybody, like government, private, everyone's pretty backed up. So I know I've heard about the Vancouver coastal issues from a few of my clients as well. And I mean, it's not organized. Unfortunately, that's part of it. Like sometimes they'll just pull your regular workers and give it to someone else and then send you a brand new person. But it would make sense for them to just leave your regular workers to you and then send the random person to whoever called in sick. But I'm not sure how their scheduling works.
Well,
Right.
also if they divided up the area in terms of geographical areas, like they'll have maybe one care aide who will have 12 people to see in a day,
Right.
or they might add somebody at the last minute, a new patient, a new client. It's interesting that they use the word client to emphasize the fact that it is a business.
It is a business. Yeah. Do
It
you
is.
find, Pooja, do you find that do you have some clients that are in both?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because
So
you only get allotted so much, right?
Yeah,
And
so
then-
with Vancouver right now, we actually get contracts from Vancouver Coastal. So we do see clients at Vancouver Coastal and we have private too. And the funny thing is all our Vancouver Coastal clients call and request them to extend with Nurse Next Door because our caregivers are used to going above and beyond and doing the extra things. So when clients, so what happens right now is we're surge providers. So if someone leaves the hospital and comes home, Vancouver Coastal doesn't have staff to provide it, then we step in and do their care for like say a month or two. until Vancouver Coastal has enough staff to provide care. And we've had like multiple clients after they got Vancouver Coastal called us and said, can like call their case managers and ask them to like send nurse next door caregivers back, because they would do more than Vancouver Coastal. Like they ask us to stick to the care plan, but then, you know, like our caregivers are like something like taking the garbage out, and our caregivers are not going to argue that, hey, this is not on the care plan, so I'm not going to do it. They just do it. So
Right.
that, you know, little things adds up, and the clients notice it.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about navigating the system, and if you are approaching needing care aid, or if you are looking at Cecil and I'm completely overwhelmed by the paperwork. What are the steps to get started with something like Nurse Next Door? And then we can talk about the public.
So with Nurse Next Door, all you have to do is just book a caring consult. And then myself, or I have 2 more care designers working with me, we would come into your house and kind of sort of do like a home assessment, build a care plan, talk about what your needs are, and then just book those visits. And we have like first visits. So a care designer or a care ambassador will go in with the caregivers to kind of sort of introduce them to the client, give them a walkthrough. And every time a new caregiver shows up to the client, one of us goes in to train the worker with the client's care. So that's one of the things that really works well. Then the clients don't have to deal with training the workers over and over again. We are trained to, like, I know most of our clients' care. So every time I go in to do a first visit, I will just tell my worker, so the garbage room is there, you do laundry on Wednesdays, you know, she likes to go to her garden 3 times a week, things like that. And then with community, it's just the case manager comes in once, does a home assessment, and then they start sending in the caregivers. But the caregivers kind of sort of don't always have all the information because their care plans are not always very up to date. Like we have clients with Vancouver Coastal whose care plans are like from, you know, like 3 years ago, and, you know, they don't even walk anymore. So, you know, it says, oh, the client uses a walker, and you show up and they're on a wheelchair, and it's like, why is this not updated? But it's just, I don't know. I mean, it's just lack of staff, I guess, in the community. So that's a big difference with like us, because we tend to be so involved with the care that and even for our community, like with VCH too, we do the same thing. Like we go in, we update the care plan. If there anything changes happen, we are always constantly updating. We're meeting the clients on a regular basis. So we're in touch with them about their care, like what's going on with them.
Now, is it the responsibility of the client to get in touch with their case manager to update their care plan?
In the community, it is, but with us, we do that. We get in touch with the case manager.
You do, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, with Nurse Next Door, we do it because it's hard to get in touch with your case manager.
It is.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, my dad has care, and he has dementia, and it's so my mom manages it, but they're up on the Sunshine Coast, and the travel, what you mentioned about the travel time, Danielle, really hit home with me, because there was a nurse that my dad really, really liked and lived sort of upper coast, and was like, okay, but it takes me 45 minutes to get there. So that comes out of your care time, which my mom was a bit shocked about.
That is horrible.
Yeah, horrible.
Yeah.
So, and yes, it's been an issue with them to get a hold of their case manager and get a reassessment. And then, you know, like luck of the draw, my dad will have a stellar day when he's getting reassessed. And this
I've had that too.
This goes back to what you were saying before, Art, about making sure that you make your care plan consist of you on your worst day.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I would, I mean, I've done this, and getting more time is very difficult, right? And yeah, you almost want to be careful. And quite honestly, I've been doing this for so long that I know how to operate very well. So that almost puts me at a disadvantage. So I have to, think of all those worst case scenario things, and you know, and really, I met with my case manager, happened to be a very nice person, and meeting them very infrequently, she honestly said, if you've got a surplus, we're not going to give you more money. So you got to run your surplus down and then, present this terrible situation about how you need this and this and this and this, and then you don't have it. And then you can have a justified case for more hours. Well, obviously that's, it's not a very pleasant kind of position to be in. So you got to create the scenario where you realistically assess yourself for all the potential, assistance you'll need. You got to operate carefully and make sure you stay within budget, but then don't accumulate too much money. Otherwise you'll be assumed to have more than you need. Right. So it is kind of one of the worst things about any of these public services. The hospitals don't get enough money unless they spend all the money. So they spend all the money, so they need the money. And it appears they need the money, even though if they're running properly, they should have a surplus, yet they should get more money if they need it when they do. But it all doesn't work very well with public accounting. So it's all part of a government budget. So and if I would suggest that in your father's case, Emily, and your mother is still quite able, that you do apply for the Cecil program and you get somebody that will stay on a live-in basis or like a more local basis, and you can put all that money toward actually getting your father the help he needs and not paying for stupid things like travel time. And that's just, when Pooja mentioned there are things that are not on the list, so the worker's not going to do it. Well, that is just horrible as well. And that should never happen. Somebody can't eat breakfast because they don't have any milk. I mean, that is just, that should be criminal.
I agree.
It's totally unacceptable. So that's the kind of thing that you have the chance to do if you're running your own program, hiring your own people. If I'm short of milk, my person's there like first thing in the morning buying it or whatever, or getting it on the way to the shift. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. George was waiting to make a comment. So
I was just going to sort of ask, sorry about the background. I'm close to the hospital. So
you're fine.
I was going to sort of dig into that point that Emily was making about how to hire. Without going into my background, I find the process of even identifying potential people as a challenge. So I welcome a service like Nurse Next Door, but I'm not sure that I can afford it over the long term. I've been in a wheelchair now for 5-6 years and on a fixed income, while we own our own home. The flexibility, the financial flexibility to deal with this is very, very limited. So finding the right people, it's just a daunting process. And would Art or anyone else care to give us a little bit of a head start on where we even look for like that?
I'll give you a quick
Craigslist.
I'll give you a quick comment, then I'll let Pooja take over or someone, and I'll just do another tilt here. But I would suggest, first of all, go on the computer and do a Craigslist and all that kind of stuff. But maybe as a first step as well, Emily, make a little email to me after, and I'll just give a little note for you to pass on to George. Is that the agencies can do a little bit, and not everyone, but certain ones, and I can see what GNP can do. They can do something under the the title of recruitment facilitation, which is kind of like a job search and appointment. So they funnel some really, let's say, pre-chosen candidates or pre-screened candidates your way, because finding the right person is definitely not very easy. And if you go through Craigslist or whatever, then you get a bunch of people, and then maybe 1 out of 10 or 2 out of 10 or whatever might be good. And it's a process. It's not really fun finding out, just how good that enthusiastic person that walked in your door and was really great in the interview, how bad they turn out to be in real life, because there's nothing, doing job interviews and doing the job are nothing like each other, right? So
there's also the security issue.
Yeah.
I have limited abilities, and I have a family, 2 kids and my wife, and I'm not entirely comfortable inviting someone in to our home that might put us all at risk at some level. And forgive me, I'm not trying to be a glass half
you
person,
can get
but
you can ask for a criminal record check. You can pay them to have that done, pay them the cost.
Ask if
You
they're.
can ask for references, do thorough reference checks, and then hire them in little bits and pieces, like so that they're only working there when your wife and whoever, or some big strong friend of yours are there, or whatever. You give them a chance to earn your trust, right? That is an issue, yeah, because you got your
it's a
house
long
and
process too, though.
your house and possessions are there. I have had little to no issue with that kind of stuff, though. I like to work with students that are heading toward the medical profession, and they care very much about the reputation and the reference and the learning experience and the background and things that this care work can provide them. So yeah, particularly nursing students, foreign nursing students, extremely good people. I would look for those if you can.
Yeah, I'm doing a quick Google search, but maybe you can find some, posting boards for medical.
Go to the nursing colleges.
Yes, yes. UBC, all the rest of the places.
Even community centers and like ESL classes. If you can just put a job posting on with your phone number and like the little perforated edges, and then they can just take it home, because a lot of international people who have nursing experience come here, they want to learn English, they want to go to the community center to meet people. They're always looking for jobs, and you might find some good ones there as well. Like Craigslist is good, Facebook, there's Kijiji. Just putting it out there, I think, in the community, like everywhere, wherever you can just post it with like your phone number. I mean, getting the applications going, and then just maybe having an interview in a neutral place, like a coffee shop, and asking them for a reference check before coming into your house. And then just telling them that the first couple days you will try them out, and then you will let them know if you're going to give them a job or not. And with Cecil, that's what I have done. Like I gave a couple interviews, and they like I shadowed the worker one day, and then the next day I did the care myself, and then they said, okay, we are fine with you coming in, and then they hired me. So if I wouldn't get hired, they would still pay me for those 2 days, but it's your care, so you don't want to just confirm with someone you met at the coffee shop and then they come to your house. It's a complete disaster.
I'll make one quick comment, then I'll take 5 minutes away from the screen. But yes, I usually do email contact to pre-screen. Then I have a detailed phone call and ask them all kinds of things about what they've done and where they've worked and what kind of experience they've got, and kind of gets you a better idea of who they are. Then an in-home interview which I don't do alone. Okay. And then, another chance to evaluate them. Then I usually do 3 training sessions, at least a couple, which will tell you how well they work with your worker, how interested they are, how much they pay attention, and by the time they've done several training sessions, and I realize there are not always situations, or not every situation where a worker can be trained 3 times in a row. But when you've got let's say an extensive care plan and a fairly complex day, it takes days to train a worker, not just half an hour, or one day, or whatever, right? So that's a process. And usually if the worker can make it through, all of those steps, chances are they're probably a decent person. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for
I'll
sharing
be
that.
off screen for a minute.
Okay, I put those steps in the chat as well. And Nathan says, I use the Individualized Funding Resource Center. Yeah, the IFRC. And you're on Cecil as well. So is that using the IFRC recruitment services? I know that those are both Paul Gautier's.
Well, actually, yeah, just call IFRC.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm not quoting exactly, but Paul Gautier, you can get through to them through TIL, to Technology for Living.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe starting, George, by making a call to IFRC and saying that you're wanting some help for recruiting good employees. I also do like that idea that Pooja said of posting in, and even like Facebook groups for the medical community too. Like I'm sure you can find a Facebook group is in training in the Vancouver area or wherever you are.
And they also have I live in the Fairview area, so I have a Fairview group. So I mean, if you have that area, posting it on your group, because I mean, there might be someone who just needs like a few hours of work like over what they're doing, and if you live in the same neighborhood, it's like perfect for them. They can just walk to you and do the care and then go walk back home.
Yeah, Facebook, especially the private, most of those groups they're private to join, and they do a little bit of vetting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Before you can get into the group. I did just want to, these go by so fast. We have less than 10 minutes left. But I did just want to know where a social work. Oh yeah. Nathan, you have somebody that's wondering if they can make a comment. Go for it.
Hi there. I'm just the worker that's with Nathan today. And I just wanted to say that from a worker's perspective, I love reading ads from the client that like describe their lifestyle and what they're looking for in a worker, because then I can go through and, analyze if I think that I would be a good fit for them or not, so I like when you guys are able to put your own ads, say online on Craigslist or wherever, and you kind of detail in more detail with what you're looking for, not obviously the basic tasks, which we do for everybody, but things about your lifestyle, like you were mentioning, George, about your family and what's involved with that. And like, we need somebody that will mesh well with all of our animals, or I have a young child or whatnot, that kind of thing. So I just thought that might be helpful to hear.
That's super helpful to hear. Thank you for sharing. Can I just ask really quick, is there a particular place where you look for work? You did mention Craigslist. Is there anywhere else that comes to mind?
Yeah, I actually matched with Nathan with the IFRC from an ad that he had. I go on Craigslist. I actually have my own ad as well. So then sometime for my own business, for my own thing that I do. And then I kind of detail what I'm able to do. And so then clients will reach out to me and say, like, this is what I'm looking for. Do you think we'd be a good fit?
Yeah.
And then there's, like, I'm not going to endorse it or anything, but there's this other website called Nanny Services. And it's not just for children. It has these types of scenarios, childcare, cleaning, that kind of thing. So I've got some ads on there. And then sometimes there's Facebook groups for different communities as well.
Okay, perfect. That's nannyservices.ca.
I think so. Yes.
Yeah,
I don't think it's .com. It's from here.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, I do think it's important to remember that just like in a job interview, I think even more so, you're interviewing each other, right? Like if for somebody that really cares about their job, they're going to want to make sure you're a good fit as well.
It's a good point, definitely, because there are so many things in addition to this care work that are part of being in your environment, and the care work is really just a small part of it. Is the part that is kind of like the stuff that you're stuck with, but the rest of it is what you really do in your life and who you are. So yeah, make that a part of your employment opportunity.
Absolutely.
Well, and also, as you mentioned before, Art, a good place to look is the colleges that have a nursing program. So look for the student nurses.
Yeah. Presented as an opportunity for them, for experience, to work with this kind of person who does this.
Yes.
And,
Yes, real experience, yeah.
And emphasize your positive personal qualities.
Exactly.
Because if you don't, they won't know that you're a fun, nice, interesting person, or you're a worldly traveler, or a renowned photographer, or
lots of stories and books to share, and cute dogs.
Dating service.
On the other hand, I wouldn't tell them too much about your financial success or whatever.
Yes.
that sounds like an opportunity, but you got to target the students that are there for a really serious opportunity to gain the experience too, because that's you want somebody who actually wants to do the work.
Yes.
Not just wants to come out and hang out.
No.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have 4 minutes left. Anything anyone else wants to comment or say? Anything we didn't? I know there's lots that we didn't cover, but we did cover quite a lot in an hour, which is awesome.
Yeah.
I did want to know, because I know we talked quickly last time, Art, about hiring a social worker being one of the first steps.
Well, you don't really hire them. You get them when you are injured or something, and they're just part of your care team at the hospital or wherever, GF Strong or whatever. That's kind of, they're usually there at the hospital, and then you'll get a different one when you get transferred to rehabilitation, if that's part of the plan or whatever. But they're there for you. Right. They're supposed to help you navigate your way through this, whatever challenging situation of adjusting to a new situation or to medical needs or whatever. So they're your employee. Get them to work for you.
Yeah.
And you don't even have to pay them. So.
Right. If you skip that step, like if you just have a case manager, is it important is it beneficial to?
Well, you can ask for a social worker. You can get one. Talk to your medical clinic or your GP or whatever, right? You might have to ask, make some noise.
Yes.
Make that wheel squeak, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, asking for what you need is an important lesson here, I'm sure, as well. Okay, great. I'm just putting in the chat links to our Facebook and YouTube page so you can share this video where it will live or go back to it for any resources. And thank you again so much to Art and to Pooja for being here twice around. Really appreciate your different insights and just overall information on the subject. So
don't be afraid of paperwork either. I don't have much. I use a computer. I can't even pick up a piece of paper. So don't let that stop you.
Yeah, I think it's probably one of the hardest things is just to get started, get your family involved, ask for help, and I'm wishing everybody the best.
Make sure you consider your options for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to start doing some research on Cecil for my dad. So thank you.
Okay.
Good. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Thanks again.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah. See you. Nice to see you again.
Yeah. Nice to see you too, Art. Thanks so much for coming.
Okay.
Okay. And I will send you George's email. He did put it in the chat here. Or you can email me and I'll pass
I
it
was gonna
along.
let you email me because this is for potential services from GNP to help him find people.
Yeah.
But I want to confirm first that GNP still wants to offer that, and for how much, because that's something that isn't normally within their offerings, but they've made an exception for people